as an entrepreneur, as a true entrepreneur, you always take on new challenges, right? And once you're incorporated, so to say, you might lose that freedom to act as an entrepreneur because of the processes and the values that the corporations in a super justified way have built up throughout the last decades or even centuries. That is something that you cannot totally avoid as a startup once you have been bought. Right? So buying startups is an option at a certain point in time, but in my opinion certainly not in the early stage and not the best way to do it. It might be a better way to do minority investments, if at all, or at least to do collaboration with the startups in order to test the new waters.
And now we're talking about driverless cars. How quickly do you think we're moving? Is it the right pace? Is it outpacing emerging markets? What are we doing?
It's certainly trends that we can observe globally now, appearing more and more e-car manufacturers popping up, more and more electric-driven vehicles, no matter which kind of vehicles, are popping up in the cities, either as shared services or as fleets or as whatever. So many different opportunities at the moment. We see multifold opportunities globally at the moment. The question is what is rational, what is sustainable, and what will win the race. Certainly we need to go the sustainable way, in my opinion, no matter what. So that means at a certain point in time away from harming our environment. Doesn't matter if it's in the production or in the operation of vehicles.
All right. Given that context, what are you doing in the industry? What have you been up to over the last 5 years, to guide me to my next question?
Right. So Continental, I would say overall, is trying to make mobility safer, cleaner, more affordable, and more intelligent. And that goes way beyond the classical car that you know, but also touching other industries that move people and goods. And that's what we really stand for, I guess.
Without giving away too much, I would like to know why you chose this particular time to launch this project, the timeliness of it.
I think a couple of years ago, some guys went out to Silicon Valley to see and observe what's happening there. And they came back in a way that they saw what's happening, right? Silicon Valley can really change something. But it's not just Silicon Valley. There are a lot of small Silicon Valleys popping up everywhere in the world, and certainly bigger ones as well, as like in Tel Aviv and Israel. And it's just flashing, When you see what's happening there, you get a feeling of what is possible now. Technologies are converging. We had such huge technological advances in the last couple of years. No matter where you look at, food industry, biotechnology, genome desequencing, it doesn't matter where you look. Computer powers, that just enables us now to go different ways, new ways, AI-based ways.
All right. Okay, and so in terms of rolling out, do we anticipate that you have a rollout time? Is it implementation in phases? What are you announcing today?
What we're announcing is that we're reaching also out to the emerging markets to look for mature startups in the area of mobility that help us make those mobility issues overcome and therefore make mobility safer, cleaner, etc. And I know that there is potential in the emerging markets. Right. We just need to find it. Okay. We need to get that hook to be able to build a bridge into the emerging markets. Right. Because that's where more than 80% of the population will be. Right. Totally new markets, totally new understanding is needed, totally new problems will occur that will require totally new solutions. Right. So for all that, we are building a company, we have built CoPace that tries to be the bridge builder and the broker between the corporate and our all business units and the future mobility, and especially also emerging markets.
Right. When you move across the border, the variables within emerging markets shifts entirely, all right? And we have probably the supply or the demand might be evident, but the infrastructure, for example, when you go to Africa, it's a government approach, top-down approach. When you go to other areas, it's entirely different. So you have a lot. When you talk about emerging markets, what's the priority?
Getting access to new markets that are big enough and relevant enough for us to step in is one approach that could be possible. And here we're talking mega cities, for example, shaping the urban mobility scenarios, yeah, being there, understanding and helping to create the future mobility for such markets could be one aspect. Another aspect is when you go to Rwanda, right? The drones have first been tested there. When you go to New Zealand, I guess it was Starship Technologies who first put their pizza delivery robot in New Zealand, and you go to China and you saw the bike sharing industry exploding there first. So there are certain reasons why you should go to certain markets at a certain time to test new business models as well. The toughest one for our business is to understand the future needs for mobility and find and design adequate solutions and services for these needs, I guess.
Right, but the finance is not an issue, right? Resource is not an issue.
Of course, it's always an issue, but it's an issue that you might overcome quicker and easier than seeing the full picture